and welcome to Woman on the Rise Lightning Talks, which explores topics around career growth, leadership, work-life balance, mentorship, challenges, and lessons learned with our experienced pioneer alumni. Our lightning talks are purposely designed to be short, so that way we can be conscious of everyone's time. So we do ask that you submit any questions that you have via the Q&A tab, and then make sure to upvote the ones that you find most interesting, and that way we can answer those questions live. We will try our best to get to everyone's questions, but in the case that we don't, our guest today has graciously agreed to answer them after the event. So my name is Marilyn Gracia. I'm class of 2017 and currently serving on the Alumni Association Board. And today I will be your moderator for this event. And today we are joined by fellow alumna, Grace Henke, who is one of our pioneer entrepreneurs, having left the startup world right after successfully negotiating a 15% raise to launch her own company. Mensa Mutts, where she uses a self-developed anti-obedience training method to work with owners who have tried everything, but are still struggling to communicate with their shy, fearful, and reactive dogs. Grace, I want to thank you so much for joining us today for our conversation.
Honor's all mine. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, let's jump right into the questions. Let's just start with your career path and how you came to establish your business, Mensa Mutts.
That would be a long story, but I'm going to try to keep it short. So I was born and raised in Beijing, China, and I have a bachelor degree in economics. So after that, I just kind of have an opportunity come along that came to US, pursue a master degree in statistics. That's where obviously I graduated from Cal State East Bay. And then I actually took on variety of jobs from, retails. I also traded Forex for about a year. I also do a variety of sales type of job, and eventually I landed a job at a Bay Area startup and worked there for a little over a year. And like you said, I negotiated my salary and title promotion as well as a raise. And then that's also happened to be the time I was at the point like, okay, do I really want this work or should I do something else? And that's when I was really lucky enough that my husband's really encouraged me. My husband said that you should just start your business. So I actually quit my job and start my business. And that's kind of how it all come together, I guess. And now we're here.
Wow, that was such an awesome decision you made. What were some of the biggest challenges that you faced in your startup journey?
Well, I think one thing definitely is about the decisions, right? We're making decisions every day, including all of you guys sitting here today. That's your decision. You decide to sit here today in comparison to do something else. And I think at the time I was like, is that the right decision? Should I really do this? Should I just find another job or should I stick to my job? Should I start dog training business? There's tons of things in your head. And at the end of the day, it's when you're running your own business, really about making the decision. Sometimes it's about making decision fast so you can take action fast. I think that's still something I'm still working on myself from time to time. When I'm facing a choice, I was like, okay, I just need to make a decision. That doesn't even have to be the best decision. It's just a decision you have to make. So yeah, definitely that will be something to, at the time, struggling. Yeah.
Making decisions. Yeah, I think that we can all agree with. And, unfortunately, there's some times where things don't always go as planned. And especially right now with the current COVID-19 pandemic, it's resulted in a lot of unemployment across the U.S. One of our fellow alumni, they did want to know if you had any advice for those who have left their jobs during this time and they want to shift into independent consulting.
So before I answer any questions to our attendees today, I just want to again kind of give you a heads up. I really gonna answer your questions like very direct, frank, right? It's possibly not what you expected and maybe even harsh. Reason to be here is that I'm not gonna tell you what you'd love to hear. It's really what you need to hear. And we're in the middle of pandemic. This is really, it's not the time to take your time, right? We really need to take action. I want to tell you what you need to hear right now. I really hope after this, you have some actionable things to do that, find a new job, pivoting your career, start your own business and making some money now. So I'm going to answer the question like how I would love to be answered if I were the one asking the question. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. So whoever like asking this question, first thing when I see the question, here's the thing, you're not someone that just suddenly want to start your own business. This probably always been the back burner in your head. And I think you really should take this pandemic probably more as an opportunity or as motivator that push you to the point like you're really sitting there thinking, okay, this has happened. Maybe I really need to look at what my passions actually is. I don't think you just wake up one day like, oh my gosh, I should start my own business. I think that's been probably there, but you've been working hard and you're doing well. And then pandemic happened. You're like, oh my gosh, now I finally have time to think about this. And the other thing I want to point it out, you don't need my validation or my permission to say, hey, you can start your own business. The permission has always been granted. It's really like you need to give yourself permission just to pursue your dream. And here's the thing, as long as you tried, there's no such thing as failure. So just go for it. That's what I would say.
I love that. You need to give yourself permission. That's very impactful. It's a very impactful statement. And thank you for sharing that. You know, especially with the ongoing pandemic going on and affecting how business is usually being conducted, how have you and your business been adapting to the changes and the challenges?
You know, I think part of it, I was kind of lucky in the sense of when pandemic happened, I happened to have my daughter late last year. So what happened is my business already slowing down. So I don't feel like, oh my gosh, my business suddenly got cut off in half or suddenly don't have income. So that didn't really happen to me because I'm in the middle of the transition, taking my maternity leave. In fact, I again take this pandemic as a lucky thing to happen in a sense, not to the lucky people getting sick and stuff, but at the same time, this gives me an opportunity to really spend more time with my family. That's have probably not going to happen if the pandemic didn't happen. The other thing, just like what I mentioned before, is actually pushed me to my new level. I've always wanted to do online courses. It's in the back of my head, but I was so busy working. I was like making good money, and I'm like, okay, just wait for it. It will get done eventually. And pandemic happened. Oh my gosh, I finally can get it done. You know, so it's like, it's more like push you to adapting. And the other thing I think it's business by design. When I work with very challenging dogs, my training actually, what I call is a hands off. I rarely touch my client's dog during the training because they're usually I work with very reactive or even aggressive dogs. So I actually don't really touch them. So those in the way of delivering the content, doing virtual session, actually not much of different when people see me in person. So I think that transition is pretty natural for me. And personally, I'm overall comfortable doing Zoom conference or technology side. I understand there's some people might not feel comfortable doing things online. So yeah, I guess that's kind of how I've been adapting and try to kind of pivoting to more online, not just about online virtual sessions, but really start producing more online courses and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and expanding your business in entirety. That's great. That's awesome. And you know, sometimes I feel like it's easier to avoid pursuing goals out of that fear that we have. Were there any fears or doubts, maybe it was financial, societal, emotional, that you had to work through during your entrepreneurship journey? And if so, how did you work through them?
Answer is absolutely. I probably still working through those every single day. It's just a different, I guess, severity, and depends on where my business at. I probably have different type of worryings. But I think at the end of the day, it's self-confident, right? Really about where do I might believe that I'm in the right path. In fact, this morning I was talking to a group of business owners talk about sometimes I still feel like, am I on the right path? Am I doing the right thing? You're still going through those. I think part of it for myself, I did a lot of self-development work. In fact, because my background grew up in China, how I've been raised and everything. So I was actually not very confident, not very comfortable in my own skins when I grew up. And I think one thing came to United States is really bring the opportunity for me to have the chance to be who I am. And I actually been years of therapy myself to actually go through my personal trauma and try to heal from that, and now bring in the energy that how I can able to help other people because I've walked the walk. And so I think really part of it to work on it, willing to invest in yourself, find the help. Also, if you can have family member really supportive, that's definitely a lucky thing to have. Like my husband's really supportive. I think that's definitely, without him, probably really hard for me. Luckily, I do have him. For people who feel maybe you don't have a family member, that's why seeking for help that's able to give you the support, gonna help you keep going.
And that's important. I think having a network of support so crucial to success. How did you go about looking for mentors, if you have one, and what steps did you take, and maybe do you have any advice on how others could potentially seek a mentor of their own?
Yeah, I think so here's, I think the three kind of, I put in three categories how you find mentors. Number one, I think people most ignored is really like what I think Earl Nightingale talk about diamonds in the acres of diamonds in your own backyard. A lot of people probably not seeing it's somebody in your life right now that they're helping you out. Sometimes we're way too focused on, I need to go find somebody out there, but somebody's actually right there. Could be your boss, could be maybe your uncle or aunts that give you support, and could be somebody, I don't know, friends that give you the support, and they could totally qualify to be your mentor. And if you find somebody like that, or after today's call, you realize, oh my gosh, that's the person. What I suggest you to do after the call, send them an email or even give them a call, ask them how they're doing, and tell them why you appreciate them, what subject or project they've helped you and make you be better than you was before. And tell them, hey, I consider you one of my mentors, and I'd love to, keep on this relationship. I'm really grateful with that. However, you use your own words for that. That's, I think it's a really first thing you can find, because without spending money, without looking elsewhere, somebody maybe really just somewhere it's reachable. And for me, that's actually happened to me. My first mentor in dog training was my dog trainer. That's how I trained my dog. And then throughout the training, I started learning more. I got more involved. I started hosting classes, and that's really how I got started. I consider him to be my very first mentor in my dog training journey. Then my second mentor from a referral from him. And he's like, you should go follow this lady, that she had good stuff. And my mentor, actually her name is Cindy. When I get in touch with Cindy, Cindy said, because whoever referred you, that's why I'm willing to take you on as a mentee. I would never even accept you're seeing you if you're not being referred to me. So referral obviously very strong. And at the same time, okay, maybe it's hard to find. I'm not saying like not everybody probably get a chance to do that. It's more of a serendipity. It might happen in your life, it might not. That's when come to what I call the third category. I think a lot of people feel maybe not comfortable talking about it. Is really to pay somebody, to pay for a coaching program, to pay for a mentor. Not in a traditional sense of mentorship, but somebody supporting you, somebody able to give you the ideas, somebody there to help you out when you're not sure what's going on. There's somebody you can talk to. And yeah, I think that's what I call really invest in yourself and try to find somebody. And those people might end up more than what you're paying for, because they actually like, wow, you probably really get connected, and you might become even doing partnership together. That's all the opportunities that come after that. I hope that being helpful.
Yeah, I think that's very, very insightful. I really liked how you differentiated to the 3 different ways you can go about seeking one. I think that's very important. Different alternative look on seeking mentorship. Very important. Let's see here. So, I think definitely this being a Woman on the Rise series, let's talk about, specific challenges that you may have experienced while you were navigating the business world as a woman. And is there any particular lesson that stands out to you?
I think one thing for me is like being a woman, or being Asian, or being Chinese, or being young or new in the industry at the beginning. I can't really tell you what that might be, but because I have all of that. When people see me, they see all of it. They probably have nothing just about me being a woman or just me being a person of color. I think one thing I actually shared in a couple of weeks ago in a podcast interview, like really I was, in a sense, how I look at it is being bullied by some industry gurus, right? The person have more years of working experience, more famous, and that happened to be a white male to happen to be. So, and then he accused me of a crime that's very stereotyped to a Chinese person. And so I was like, wow. And then at the time, obviously, a lot of emotional stuff coming in and the lawyers are involved. By the end of the day, really looking back, that's what I call is really bullying. Like there's, people, when you feel you're being put down or being biased against, just knowing those people are scared. They don't want you to be successful because, oh, trust me, they're scared that you're going to be so powerful that is it like, oh my gosh, I can't handle you to be successful. Really look at it that way, right? And then anytime you feel you're being put down, it's just think about it's not about you, it's about them. It's their inner fear that if this person's successful, we have to be careful. And that's when they try to put you down. That's really how I look at it.
Great advice. And thank you for sharing that story. And going into just kind of like with a work-life balance, how do you manage a work-life balance when you're first starting your business, and how do you manage a work-life balance like now?
I really don't think there's such things work-life balance, more of like how you prioritizing your tasks throughout the day. When you life shift, you just have to prioritize it differently. There was a year I was working every single weekend, both Saturday and Sunday, seeing like probably between 5 and 8 clients during the weekends. And to the point, my husband's like, okay, Grace, you can't do this anymore. We're not seeing each other at all. Like this is not working. So that's why I realized, okay, I've been putting my business pretty much ahead of my family. And then for me, it's like, okay, in order to have a healthy relationship, right? I have to change how I arrange my business. I have to pivot in a sense how I can, in a sense, work less, but not sacrifice my income and spending more time with my family. So that goes through a pivoting, go through reorganize my business and try to make that happen. And then having kids, oh my gosh, that's a totally different game, right? When you have kids, that priority is like kids first, right? You can't, there are things like you can outsource. There's things you cannot outsource, right? The relationship between me and my child, like nothing can replace that. I have to spend the time with her, and then that become priority. And then you just have to get certain things done, respect your own schedule. So I have daily tasks I need to get done for my business. I always get those done. And then there's my kids' needs, meet those needs, and then other things, so on and so forth. Things might be put on lower priority. For example, I do like dishes pile up, my laundries pile up. Those unfortunately become lower priority. I just get that done when I have time. I hope that makes sense to the person who asked the questions.
Yes, and someone else had also asked another question, but I think you've answered it pretty well. They just wanted to know if it was possible to start a company and still have that time for family. And it sounds like a really great system in place.
Yeah, again, it's priority, again, what you want. And sometimes it's not about the time itself. It's also about the quality of the time, right? You might just spend an hour with, it depends on how old your child. My daughter just gonna turn 9 months old. She needs 24/7 attention. Now, if you have maybe a little older child, they do have their own time and stuff like that. They might be in the online school from certain hours to certain hours. You might have to do something. So, and then for you to spend maybe just an hour with them, maybe just read them books. So those are the quality time. You shut off your cell phone. You tell, like, nobody gonna take that time from you and your child. And that's quality time together. And beyond that, you can have your own time, may or may not involve to your children. And I think that's really part of it. The other thing, when I say if being asked if it's possible, I recently read something like impossible is actually I am possible. So I think Adidas have the tagline, right? Nothing's impossible. So I know a lot of moms are very successful business owners and they have multiple kids. I only have one, so I'm probably not in the position to tell you what to do, depending on how many children you have. But I recently met somebody who has 6 children and she's running a business and very successful. So I guess there's no excuse to say you can't do it.
Oh my goodness. Well, I have 0, so kudos to all of. So we do have a few more questions that people sent in advance. Let's start with one of the first ones. One of our alumni shared that they experience competitiveness in the workplace, and especially amongst their female colleagues. Do you have any advice on how to address this issue?
You know, when I saw this question, my first thought is, if that's true, really ask yourself, is this the right company for you? If it's a company culture problem, that the company push all the female colleagues try to fight for a position or something like that, that's what I would just say is a bad environment, maybe something you need to like really consider that maybe not right fit for you. The other part is, here's the thing, there's competition everywhere. Regardless, you're in the workforce. When I'm in my own business, if you ask how many dog trainers out there, there's tons of dog trainers out there, but I won't see them as a competitions, right? Then you won't survive if all you can think it's competition. Really part of it also, like a good amount of a healthy competition is what keep you going and push you to be better yourself. So the second part of this answer from me is really like, change your mindset, build up your own inner confidence. Then how other people think or how you look at others probably will become really different. If you're seeing them as push you to be the better version of yourself, you're probably more motivated to be better, rather than looking at feel like everybody try to get to out there to get you. That may not be the case. So excel your own crafts, build your inner confidence, and then you will be like so powerful and unstoppable, and you wouldn't care what other people think at that point.
Mm-hmm. A lot of introspective work, and I love it. I'm all for it. It's really great advice. Thank you, Grace. Let's see, another question. A fellow alumni would like entrepreneur, but they have too many ideas. So how should they go about, picking an idea and then starting the process to build their business?
Wow, that's a decision-making process. Obviously, it's always tough. And I would say, get out a piece of paper, or you do it, virtually or on your laptop, write down all your ideas. Like really, how many ideas are there, right? Write it down. And once you write everything down, more than likely half of them, you'll be instant like, okay, those are not the thing I'm gonna do, or it's not the right idea. Because once you see it in paper, you actually very different from when you're forming the ideas in your head. And then after that, list maybe 3 details in each ideas to see what you try to accomplish, what are some things required in order for that to kick off. And after that, you're probably going to eliminate another half, like, okay, those are probably not doable right now, or doesn't make any sense. And then the other thing is gathering what resources you already have yourself, and how those resources going to apply to the business you want to start. And obviously you want to start with the one that you probably have the most resource of. So have less preparation time. You're already pretty much ready. You only need a little bit. You can get a kick-off start. And the other thing is, are all of your ideas profitable, right? When you start business, it's for profit. If the idea is just not going to make money, that's probably not a good idea. After that, you probably still have several ideas there, and you feel like you can start any of it. They're all going to make money. And then that's when I use Marie Kondo said, which one sparked joy? Then pick that one and then go for it. So that's probably the process for me. If that makes sense to you, hopefully you can get it practice and share with me how it goes.
Awesome. Let's see, another fellow alumni is asking, why start a dog training business when your particular background is in statistics? And are there any particular courses that you recommend for our women entrepreneurs?
I remember I actually emailed my college professor, Professor Josh Kerr. I think he still works for Costa East Bay in statistics department. I actually joke about, I said, only less than 30% of grads actually have a job related to their major. And it's just an irony that I have a major in statistics. And here's the thing, my major was not my passion. I don't think that ever was my passion to begin with, but I picked the major because I had the thought, belief in that's a major easier to find job. So I picked that major. And I was actually a straight A student, but that doesn't mean like I love it or, want to have a career to be a scientist or a statistician. So don't let your major, focus to kind of a eliminate yourself, your potentials. The other thing is, I think dog training, being a dog trainer, I think probably always been my destiny, but I never really had the chance to really explore it earlier. I think that's probably part of just how my life turned out and everything. And so that's, I think if life were different, I probably maybe won't have the major in statistics. I probably would just be a dog trainer. I wouldn't know. So yeah, and in terms of courses, I've never taken any courses in terms of how to start a business myself. The courses I have taken is really when I feel like there's a particular expertise I'm missing, I really want to learn. For example, I need to do videos. Maybe I take a video course so I know how to trim videos and logos and stuff. And for me, I think I want to refer back to the mentor question. Instead of go search for a course, maybe you want to search for the right person to follow. And that person probably refer you to the course that say, hey, this is where you're at, and you might want to look into this. Because sometimes what we think we need, maybe not what we actually needed. And that's when I think a mentor really come in handy, to have somebody tell you, hey, you're not there yet. This is you, and this course will be right fit for you. I think that might be a good way to go. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that's definitely a great alternative as well. Another alumni wants to know if they can volunteer at Mensa Mutts, and is there currently any open volunteer opportunities?
So I think the question really like what you try to accomplish when you're working with me. I don't like to use the word working for me, even if you're a voluntary employee, either way, really work with me. I see everything as a partnership. Like, what do you try to accomplish? Here's the thing, if you just want to spend time with dogs and walking dogs, that's not my business. There's probably a shelter, a nonprofit, probably what you're looking for. In terms of like want to help out, here's the thing, I'm actually looking for beta testers for my new phone app that I'm about to launch. And if that's something you're interested in to, be my beta tester, here's the thing, you won't get paid, but it won't cost you anything either, but you will get a chance to have the first look what I have in my business, right? If that's something interesting, you can reach out. That's kind of help out. The other thing is if you're asking this question because you want to build your own portfolios, you have a specialty, you want to, hey, this pandemic, I want to do something special. For example, maybe you're a journalist looking for a good article, your podcast host want to find a good guest, or maybe you're like a graphic designer, you want to build your own portfolio, want to build something or design something. If that's the case, we can certainly explore like what some of the collaborations we can do together. Here's the thing, if you're like, Grace, I actually want to learn more about dog training, maybe I want to see if I can get in the industry. Now that would be something probably more of like a mentorship and see if that's maybe the best for you. Mm-hmm. So I hope that answered the questions, whoever asking, or maybe whoever else have similar questions.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, thank you. And so just reflecting back on your journey, is there anything that you would have done differently?
When I see the question, I was telling myself, okay, every decision I made, I try my best to, that's all the information I have at the time, and I made that decision. So I want to say there's really no regret when I look back. But at the same time, if there's anything I want to change, I'd wished that I was more open-minded and invest in myself earlier. Little private personal background, it took me 2-3 years to being convinced that to see a therapist, because how I grew up is that seeing a therapist is such a shame, right? And that's really, really hard for me. So now I don't feel shame to talk about it. I tell everybody, oh, I talk to my therapist, because that's what makes me more confident. I able to recognize my own weakness and facing those. So sometimes I do look at what will happen if I do that 3 years early. Will be my life probably, how about 3 years fast track, right? So I tell people, okay, really invest in yourself and seeking help. I think that will be something I hope I can do differently if I did have the chance.
Thank you, Grace. I think that's an awesome piece of advice that you're us with today. It does look like we are wrapping up on time. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to, check in with you and see if people want to connect with you, how can they reach you?
You know, I tell people, okay, you want to just connecting, there's LinkedIn, Facebook, right? You Google me. But really, if you say, hey, Grace, I want to get to know more, want to have like a virtual coffee chat, what we call networking events, right? Sort of thing, email me, right? Can I type in my email here? Would that be okay? Let me try. It's grace at mensa-mutts.com. Really just email me, put in the subject line CSUEB so I know where you come from. In general, I reply all emails. And so, you know, here's the thing. Most people like, oh, networking, just don't just add me on Facebook, add me on LinkedIn, right? And I still don't know you. You still don't know me. Really reach out. If something you want to connect to somebody, you're going to have to reach out. Really, that's really how it works. I hope that helpful. Yeah.
Yes, of course. Well, Grace, thank you so much for coming today and really being here and answering everyone's questions. I think you provided such introspective and insightful information, very valuable for all of our alumni. And to our, yeah, and did you have any closing remarks?
I think not really. I think I see somebody have a question on the Q&A tab. Did I?
Oh, we pushed your email out, I think. Oh, let me see.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I think we do have one more time for just one more quick question. Um, Hi, Grace. I'm planning registering my own nonprofit from scratch. Could you share whom you followed? How did you find a lawyer to validate the nonprofit status?
Okay. So I'm not gonna endorse anybody who I'm following in terms of nonprofit. But for lawyers, find a qualified, in general, business lawyer can do this. The nonprofit I worked before, we just find a business lawyer and they're able to help out. And you can interview the lawyers you like and talk to the lawyer like, hey, what's the fee structure, how it works, and how long it's gonna take, what they prepare for you, for how much money. And then if you're interested in just want to see, hey, can I find a lawyer doing pro bono? Now it really depends on what that lawyer is interested in terms of your mission for your nonprofit, and have to be obviously aligned to that lawyer's mission as well. Otherwise, you're just starting to get qualified for the status, the 5013 stat, right? 501c3 status, just to get a lawyer. Probably a lot of lawyer I know, they have actually fixed fee package that you can buy, just get it done. I hope that helpful.
Yeah, and I think that does conclude all of our questions from our live questions. And so again, thank you so much, Grace, and to our Pioneer alumni who have joined us this evening. Thank you so much for joining the conversation.